When it comes to President Donald Trump, even his closest advisors might not know what decision is coming next. And lately, critics are asking an even bigger question: does President Trump himself know? Across Washington and Wall Street, one phrase keeps coming up: policy whiplash. Over the past few weeks, President Trump has repeatedly reversed or modified his own trade decisions. He has doubled down on statements one day, only to pivot the next. And the latest example: global tariffs. Here's what happened. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that President Trump's broad tariff orders were unlawful. The court said that under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, the president does not have unilateral authority to impose sweeping tariffs. That power, the court emphasized, belongs to Congress. The decision came in a 6-3 majority. Rather than backing down, President Trump sharply criticized the court, calling the ruling absurd, badly reasoned, and anti-American. But at the same time, he acted quickly. Within hours, he announced a 10% interim tariff on imports from nearly every country in the world, effective immediately, for 5 months. But the story didn't end there. Less than 24 hours later, President Trump changed course again. In a social media post, he announced the tariff would not be 10%, it would be 15%, and instead of 5 months, it would remain in effect for 150 days. He claimed the decision was made after a thorough and detailed prior review of the Supreme Court ruling. He also said that if the administration wants to make the tariffs permanent, it would need congressional approval. This rapid back and forth has intensified uncertainty, not just politically, but economically. Markets don't like unpredictability. Businesses don't like unpredictability, and global trade especially doesn't like unpredictability. Take India as an example. Last year, the U.S. imposed a 25% reciprocal tariff on Indian goods. Then, an additional 25% tariff was added because of India's continued purchase of Russian oil, bringing the total to 50%. In February 2026, after both countries agreed on a framework for an interim trade deal, the Trump administration reduced tariffs on Indian imports from 50% down to 18%. Then came the Supreme Court ruling, which temporarily made many of the president's tariffs ineffective. That opened the possibility that Indian imports could revert to the earlier baseline tariff rate of around 3.5%. But now, with the new 15% global tariff announcement, Indian imports would effectively face an 18.5% rate, half a percentage point higher than before. The bigger issue here isn't just the number, it's the volatility. The Supreme Court made clear the International Emergency Economic Powers Act gives the president authority during national emergencies, but it does not grant blanket authority to impose tariffs. Trade taxation authority lies with Congress. So now we are watching a constitutional tug-of-war between the executive branch and the judiciary, with global markets caught in the middle. Supporters argue President Trump is using aggressive tactics to protect American industry and push trading partners into better deals. Critics argue the constant reversals, rapid escalations, and legal battles are creating economic instability and undermining confidence. The question for Americans now is simple. Is this strategic hardball negotiation? Or is it policy instability? One thing is certain: businesses, global partners, and financial markets are all waiting to see what happens next. And if recent days are any indication, predicting the next move may be harder than ever.